do something different. I want to be a finance person. I did start finance in school, but I didn't do anything in finance. But I think I need to go back there. But your experience is not reflecting anything in finance. Then you need to say, how do I go to an organization where they can take me on as an intern, not necessarily a fresh intern, fresh graduate intern, but an intern that is already experienced in another craft but wants to change careers. So if you do internship for like a year in a particular organization, any organization that is advertising for internship, it helps you to then gain the experience and the confidence that you require to be able to transit. But even as you serve in church, your giftings that God has given to you, if you have the opportunity, create something, get that space, and you function there. The more you give, the more you receive. That one principle of God cannot be shaken. The more you talk, the more you share with others, the more God gives you new things, because those challenges will come from those who are in those groups that you are supporting. For example, I'm in a drama ministry. It's quite tough these days, actually. But the more I act, the more I talk, the more I share, the more I direct, the more knowledge God gives me about human.
With Omobolanle. Today, we are honored to have a remarkable guest, Ms. Olutayo Bankole Bolawole, the Director of People and Culture at Tearfund, United Kingdom. Tearfund is a Christian organization dedicated to ending global poverty, and Ms. Bankole Bolawole is a dynamic leader who exemplifies faith in action. With extensive experience in human resources, she has distinguished herself as a transformational leader, coach, and mentor. Known for her unwavering faith and commitment to excellence, she is celebrated for her expertise in leadership development, organizational growth, and her deep understanding of corporate board relationship and practices. As a believer, Ms. Bankole Bolawole passionately supports and mentors hardworking professionals and young believers, guiding them towards strategic thinking, focus, and alignment with organizational goals. Her influence spans Africa, Europe, and beyond, thriving in a multicultural environment while leading and empowering others to grow both professionally and spiritually. She is a mother, she is a wife, and a distinguished professional. Today, I am glad that Ms. Bankole Bolawole will share her insights on the thought-provoking topic, why are some Christians stagnant in their career? HR tricks and tips to career growth. So join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Olutayo Bankole Bolawole. I believe today's conversation will inspire, challenge, and bless you. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll dive into this impactful discussion. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. You are welcome to Raise and Reign with Omobolanle, the channel where faith meets with purpose. In today's exciting episode, we are diving into this topic: what is happening to Christians who, instead of progressing in their career, they have remained the same position for a long time. And indeed, we want to know HR tricks and tips for career growth. What are the reasons why Christians remain stagnant? Have you ever wondered why some believers, they seem stuck in their places of work and they are no longer moving forward? Could it be that there is a barrier that is holding them from growing? Those are some of the questions that would be answered by our guest today. And I'm so happy that she is going to be joining us in this beautiful conversation. God has a purpose of bringing you here. And God's power is unmatched and has been proven times and times over throughout history in the scripture as well. So I asked you to join me in welcoming our guests to discover the right mindset, to discover the surprising parallel between spiritual growth and our career development. With her expertise, I believe we all would learn one or two things that are actionable steps that will help us revitalize our faith, not just our faith, but will move us in the right direction or the right trajectory in our career. Do not go away. We're going to take a short break right now, and then we'll be right back and we'll be joined with our guests. Stay tuned. Hello, Ma.
Good morning, good afternoon,
Thank
good
you.
evening, everyone.
Thank you so much for being part of this. We are so glad and grateful to God for the opportunity, and also thanking you most importantly for your time, because sometimes just getting you, we've been trying to fix this over and over, but we thank God that this day has finally come, and we want to thank God for uh God's purpose in your life and also in the life of our viewers who are watching for such a time as this. So we're just going to dive right into the discussion, and I believe that God will use you as a mouthpiece to speak his mind to our viewers, and also for every one of us who are watching wherever they're watching uh, this particular podcast from. I want to ask you, beyond the issue of career, I know as an HR expert, there are things that seems a little bit synonymous, like they are 5 and 6 in a way. When it comes to our Christian growth, are there some Christians that we can say they're also stagnant in their faith? Over to you, Ma.
Oh, thank you very much, and I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to talk today. I think when we are talking about being stagnant in your faith, there are so many things that could be the reason for that. I think the number one thing that I have noticed, because of course it's happened to a number of us as well, actually, is when you start to feel that you don't need to spend so much time in the Word or even to know the Lord more and to pray, then you don't know when you start to see that you're wandering away. That is one. The other thing that I've noticed is when we start getting extremely busy and not carving time out to actually connect to the power source, to the Lord, definitely you keep bringing up the old wine, so to speak,
Mm,
rather than the fresh one that you need to have.
mm,
And so when that happens, you're not able to replace, and that means that you're already wandering off. I think the third thing that I have seen also that really makes Christians to be stagnant in their faith also is taking the Lord for granted. Sometimes
mm,
we believe we've known God for so long, it doesn't really matter. God sees my heart, and then
mm,
we just go with the flow, forgetting that
mm,
every time you open the Word of God,
mm.
something new keeps jumping
That's
out. But if you do not spend time to
yeah.
do that, you're just going to be leaning on what you've known forever. I'm
Mm,
talking from experience, to be frank with you. I gave my life to Christ when I
mm,
was 14, and
mm,
that really helped. It
yes.
helped me to really grow. That was in secondary school. Throughout university, I was on fire. The churches I've been going have been great.
Mm,
So
mm,
many times you tend to think that pastors, what are they saying? Seriously. You
mm,
yourself have been a Christian for, I think if I look at my 55 years on earth now, it's
mm.
for almost 45 of that or more. And
Wow.
then you get to a point where you're in church and you're saying, ah, seriously?
Mm,
So what is this person saying? Forgetting that God gives you word for every season, and you don't have to take it for granted. So for me, that's also part of why people are stagnant. Sometimes people become very jaded also in their walk with God.
mm,
They become jaded in their walk with God, and just assume that what they've known forever is what is still is still
yeah.
going to happen. So I think those are some of the reasons that I can quickly give you around stagnacity
Mm.
and the Christian walk.
Thank you so much, Ma. And I think you kind of lay a very good background, and that gives us an idea of why that also has a ripple effect in our growth and our work in even with man, because when we are stagnant in a way with God, we've missed our way. Like there's something you said about us taking God for granted. So those kind of misgiving, like, oh yeah, is he not God? Is he, when I go to him, he will answer me, and that affects us. It affects our life, it affects our relationship, and that takes us to the issue of our human resources in terms of our relationship with people, with the kind of social network, the people we have around us. We find that Christians, at their spiritual growth, maybe I should put it this way: is their spiritual growth, does it align with their career growth? So what's the balance for us, ma? Can you give us an idea of how do we as Christians marry our career with our faith? Over to you, ma.
Thank you. I think I'll start by giving you an illustration, a little bit of story about my own. Maybe that would help. I think this year it will become 34 or 35 years that I've been working. Yeah, probably 35 actually. That I've been working within the HR and organizational development terrain, both from the corporate sector as well as the international development sector. And one of the things I have noticed generally that happened to me is that as you are growing in your career, the first thing that people tend to think is, oh, I need to just get on with it, get a lot of experience, and continue to grow and grow and grow. I think for me, it has been a bit different. And why do I say that? Right from the beginning, HR was not something I wanted to dive into, to be fair. I wanted to go into communication arts. But right from the time I finished my youth service in Nigeria, I was planning to go do masters in communication arts. But somehow God just landed me. My first job was in HR, and it was divine, I would say. However, one thing that I would want to say is that there's been no job that I've gone into. I think this is a really good tip, especially for believers,
Mm,
that have not prayed through. If God doesn't say go into that place, I
mm,
just don't bother.
mm,
Sometimes it even tells me some of the challenges I might face in advance. There is no job I've done that it has not been Him
mm,
saying go. Why do I know that? I know that because there's some mouth-watering offers I've had in my career that God just said no to.
mm,
But just don't bother. And then my family is looking at me like I'm crazy. I said, no, God is not saying I should go to that. I'm not going to go.
mm,
And I think because of that, it has really helped me to be exactly where God intends for me to be.
mm.
And that has also enabled me to grow massively,
Yeah.
rapidly, shockingly, actually. So, one thing I will tell you is that I cannot ever believe that it's me. What do I know? It's always been about Him. You see what I
Yes.
mean? It's always
That's
been about Him. And that's why, even when you face challenges in any organization,
mm,
one of the key things I've noticed is that because He has already told me that I should go, He went ahead.
that's
He's
right.
settling all the ruffled waters, making them calm because
Mm,
of me. And
yeah.
it gives you wisdom to navigate those waters as well. That's one of the things I've consistently been praying about. The Lord, let your wisdom. So, if my enjoyment to others is that right from the time you may have missed it from the beginning,
Mm,
but the minute you realize that God is the author and finisher of your faith,
mm,
and the
mm,
minute you realize that it's not always about the money, because there
mm,
have been jobs that have taken pay cuts
mm,
and all that. It's not
mm,
always about it, but it's about His will. Once you
mm,
settle down in your mind, you will see that you're going to have smooth sailing in
Mm.
any career that you go. Of course, you would have challenges. That's what life is all about. It's about growth, it's about experience, and all of that. But He's right there with you, working with you. And so
Mm.
for me, that's really crucial. It's about how do you allow God into your career path? Do you
Mm.
separate your spiritual life from your work? It has to be combined to
Yes.
truly make you that spiritual being that the Lord intends for you to be. I hope
Mm.
I've answered that question.
Thank you so much. This is, in fact, I would say, incredibly insightful, and I can hear what you're saying about us allowing God to lead the way. The Bible is clear, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. In all your ways, acknowledge me, and I will direct your path. And you've rightly said it all. When God leads the way, there's absolutely nothing He cannot do ahead of you, because He is the author and finisher of everything. So He has a purpose in mind for any one of us. And I think for the viewers who are watching right now, one of the first tip you must learn is making sure that God is ahead of you. And you said something about, you know, God guiding you, even when there are ruffles or there are issues that you will be faced with in wherever you are. I know that there are situations where even as a Christian, you pray, you ask God to lead you. You are led. You feel that this is the place to be, but the first year, second year, third year, 5 years, you're still there in that same position. I want you to speak to that part, that challenge, that aspect of us as Christians, because I'm guessing that there could be some missing link because we feel we have a God that can, some Christians in our heads, we think there's this God that can perform magic, you know, but there are things that we ourselves as Christians need to understand about the way even our God Himself, the way He does His own thing. So if we truly are God's children, we have to abide by those guidelines, those principles. So are there some things that I still want you to speak about, those missing links, those things that we are supposed to be cognizant about as Christians, that if I'm in an organization, these are the things as a child of God I must take note of, so that it will help me, in the right trajectory in my career. It will help position me well. But those are exceptions. So, can you speak to? I want you to give us some quick tips, because I know
Okay.
viewers are listening and they want to know some of those tips. Over to you.
Thank you. I think the main thing first is any job, any work that you're doing, even if God has called you into it, or you're already there, you did not hear voice of God and all that, there are still ways that you can navigate even those spaces. The first thing you need to realize is that any job that you're doing, you are doing it as unto the Lord. If we believe that we are believers and we think that because yeah, I'm just doing this job and all that, you must have that attitude that I'm serving God in this space. If you serve God in a space where you allow the Lord to direct your paths,
Mm,
you allow the Lord to direct your path. Very critical. You cannot claim to know it all as well. So that's one. So if God is not directing your path and you are just going with emotions, the office says that we are supposed to be resuming at 9, for example. Very, very simplistic, I must say.
mm,
And then you
mm,
say, I have this prayer meeting early in the morning. They will understand. And you come in at 10. And that becomes your pattern. How exactly are you showcasing the Lord in your life when that is the excuse you give? You must be a professional, no matter what. So that one is not an excuse. If you do need to spend time away, you have your leave days to take time off. If there are emergencies once in a while, of course it's allowed. So definitely one is as unto the Lord. You
mm,
serve as unto the Lord, as if the Lord Himself is the one that said, "Okay, I've given you your contract. This is it." How would you do if you're in church? and your pastor says, this is what I want you to function in, you obey, you do. But when it
Yeah.
comes to your job, you separate. So everything you do must be as unto the Lord. That's one. Two, do not take for granted continuous learning. You
Mm.
cannot remain on your oars and think that no, God is suddenly going to zap you with his magical powers to endue you with all the knowledge and all that. Yeah, that does happen in words of knowledge, words of wisdom when it needs to do that. But the key thing is, how are you also growing your experience? How are you growing your craft? How are you grooming it? How are you identifying mentors that can continue to stretch you? How are you not in a space where you do not just stay in your little corner, not reaching out to anyone that can support you? Remember, Moses had Aaron and holding up his hand. There
Mm.
will always be people that can mentor you. Moses also had his father-in-law that helped him, to so you are not alone. How do you ensure that you do not allow arrogance of I know my craft to think that you know it all? The world is consistently changing and molding. How are
Mm.
you also keying into the changes that is happening across the
Yeah.
world to continue to improve yourself? So education, experience, mentoring, reaching out, extremely critical as well, even as you grow. The third part is that I think is also very important is who are the people you're talking to? Who are those ones that can help to sharpen you beyond mentors? Do you have a group of people that understand the craft that you're able to connect to, uh, even either officially or even in your spare time? I
Mm.
can tell you that very, very clearly that I belong to a number of organizations, networks,
Yeah.
groups that are professional, where when you need support, you can key in there, ask questions, and they will respond. It's on LinkedIn, it's in maybe a group where you have global HRs coming
Mm.
together,
Mm.
sending questions. You cannot function alone because you don't know it all. So
Yeah.
the more you do that, the more you're also able to identify and people get
Mm.
to know your experience as well. And then
Mm.
helps you to grow. They say, no, 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 there's somebody that I met in this organization when I had this meeting or there was this cocktail that happened. Maybe we need to reach out to that person. Before you know it, headhunters are all over you trying
Mm.
to also get you and all that. So it's important that you keep all of these things. It helps not to be stagnant. But if you're happy just being in your little corner, it gets to a point where even you in your little corner are no longer relevant because everything you're talking about is like things that happened 30 years ago because you've not improved, you've not grown, you've not no. There's
Yeah.
no way you're gonna grow in your career if that's what's happening. Maybe finally to say that even as you serve in church,
Mm.
your giftings that God has given to you, if you have the opportunity,
Mm.
create something, get that
Mm.
space, and
Mm.
you function there. The more you give, the more you receive. That one principle of God cannot be shaken. The more you talk, the more you share with others, the more God gives you new things because those challenges will come from those who are in those groups that you are supporting. For
Mm.
example, I'm in a drama ministry. It's
Mm.
quite tough these days, actually. But
Mm.
the more I act, the more I talk, the more I share, the more I direct, the more knowledge God gives me about human beings
Mm.
and things like
Mm.
that. So I
Mm.
just need you to understand that if you do not share something, it's like the principles of giving, sowing and reaping. If your hands are tied like this, you're not able to receive, and you're not able, so whatever
Yeah.
you kept here will get rotten over
Yes.
time. So you need to release so that you're able to get. It's so
Yes.
important. Everything about the Lord is about the principles in the Bible. And the more you understand it, the more you're able to use it also to grow and not be stagnant in your career.
Perfect. Perfectly said. Thank you so much. There are quite a number of things you said, and as much as our viewers are learning, I'm also taking quite a number of nuggets from you on the issue of mentoring, on the issue of allowing God to use you beyond even the place of work, that is in the ministry. You talked about you being in the drama ministry. You also talked about one not being an island. Look, that knowledge is vast, so you need to tap into different resources. Don't be stagnant. I think I really appreciate those profound truths that I want to just follow it up with situations where there could be um I would say not being very enthused to work. You are not enthusiastic. There's something about what you doing the same thing maybe routinely, and then you feel, oh, I need to have moved from this unit to another unit. As a Christian, if there something you can, because I can relate to this in a way, in sometimes that I feel like, oh, why am I in this particular unit for this long? And I'm telling my manager, I need more, I need more. And the manager doesn't think that there's a room for me to do more, you know? How do we help Christians to find something that will push them, even though you have quite and said quite a number of things like getting a mentor, learning more, doing more, but how do you help help people to see you, i- and don't feel that you are frustrated? That how do you feel enthusiastic about your work? Maybe that's
Okay.
the way to put it.
I'm going to tell you a little story, then I'll dive into it.
Mm,
You see, there's nobody that doesn't at some point feel that, seriously, why am I still here? Why am I still in this position? And
mm,
all of that. It happens.
mm,
For me, I think what I think, as like I said, for me, is all about one, the first thing is God the one telling me to go.
mm,
But that doesn't mean you still don't have uh, those feelings
mm,
sometimes.
mm,
How it happens to me is once I think I've ticked off all the boxes, I've delivered what I need to
mm,
deliver in my own head,
mm,
and I'm still there, then I know it's time to talk to the Lord. Father, why am I still here? Especially if I'm being vibrant. Then it tells me there are still things you've not yet done. And I can tell you this, I've never had to look for work. I've always been headhunted. He always tells me, when it is time, I will let you know.
mm,
So even when you're feeling that frustration sometimes, it's because there's still things for you to learn.
mm,
The
mm,
organization that I had worked, that I stayed the most, I was, the longest time I was in a position was 3 years.
mm,
The others within 2 years, 1.5 years, within the same organization, something happens, and then there's a kind of change happening. And then
mm,
God just catapults me, keeps catapulting me. So
mm,
now coming back to your question, one of the things that has happened to me is the fact that I did not restrict myself to saying, okay, I'm an HR person, even within the organization. I
mm,
learned to grow the craft within the
mm,
organization.
mm,
And from the very beginning, I wanted to do organizational development, which is wider. It's not
mm,
restricting you to HR, it's going into programs, to policy, to
mm,
fundraising, and all of that.
mm, mm,
So, whilst you're there as a person, what will definitely happen as you are reaching out, learning from others, even if it's not in your own area,
mm,
you create that opportunity to
mm.
go and want to learn. Because
Yes.
once you're getting bored with what you're doing, that means that you've become a kind of, in quote, master in that craft. So, what are
Yeah.
the other terrains to conquer within your organization?
Mm,
Then you start to reach out to say, I'm actually interested in fundraising. How do they
mm,
even do that? What can I volunteer to do apart from what I've done? I'm making sure it doesn't disturb my normal duties.
mhm,
Then you start to reach out, then it excites you. But
yeah.
as you're being excited and learning more, you're also able to absorb that and makes you a better person,
Yeah.
makes you a richer individual in terms of the experience that you've gathered. And that helped me. At
Mm,
some point in my career, even though my background and my foundation was fully HR and organizational development,
mm,
and I assure you that it got to a point I became a regional director. And you know that's strange, right? In 3 different regions, I was a regional director because of that leveraging of what OD is, which is across everywhere, and the
mm,
learning. So when
yeah.
opportunities come and I apply for those jobs, and say, Tayo, apply, don't worry, within the same organization. It's just seamless. God somehow does it. So if you package yourself in a way that you keep learning and feel, instead of being frustrated and moaning and groaning, so what else can I
Mm,
learn? Yeah.
Mm,
What else
mm,
can I do? What else can I
mm,
deliver? As you
mm,
do that with yourself, you will see that there's no way you will not become excited again. And when it is
mm,
time for you to transit, because you also have to be sensitive to the Spirit of God, when
mm.
it's really time for you to transit, you will transit. A final
Yes.
one I want to say around this is this.
Mm,
Once you start to feel frustrated and stagnant, as a child of God, it's not about going on the mountain to be praying all the time. It's
mm,
about saying, Father, what next?
mm,
Because for me, when I get uncomfortable and start having niggles like that, I just look, okay, Father, what next? I think I've done my job here.
mm,
Then, as you do that, it then begins to direct you on where you need to do what you need to do. And when it's time for Him to pluck you after that place, it will happen. But if
mm,
you are too blinded and too caught up in yourself and your woes and your misery, you not even hear God when He's talking to you. So for
ah,
me, is be excited where God has placed you. Try to
yes.
learn some more things, and in the
Yes.
course of doing that, it will position you. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Beautifully articulated. Thank you so much, Ma. We appreciate this. You did say, stop mourning and groaning, find something to learn. That's so beautifully said. For us as Christians, wherever you are, God has positioned you there for a purpose. And for those who are watching us, we want you to know that you are destined for greatness only if you understand that you have been raised and to reign as God has called you to be. And one of the things we also share on this channel is to invite those who are yet to accept Jesus into their life, because we know that some may be watching us wherever you're watching from, and yet you don't even know your way in the kingdom. We want to invite you to make Jesus the Lord and personal Savior of your life. And on this channel, we would invite you by asking you to say this simple prayer. Just say, Lord Jesus, come into my life. Take over in every situations of my life. Save me from my sin and make me whole again. And if you have said this prayer, I want you to know that you have been saved. And I know that you have been invited to become a partaker of the kingdom of God. You are welcome to the community of faith. You are welcome to the community of believer, and you are here because God has proposed that you will be here and listening to us. And we are still here with our guest, Miss Olutayo Bankole Bolawole. Thank you so much, Ma, for those beautiful truth that you explain to us, and those tips. There are quite a number of tips you said, and I don't want to go over it all over again, but I know that the viewers are watching and we are all learning from you. I just want to ask this final part of the question, which is, even though there are situations in life that you feel you have done everything you can. I think you have touched on this, but I just want you to emphasize more on it, that you have done all you can. You have prayed about it. You're doing what you need to do. You are learning, and then God is telling you it is time to move. Are there some helpful tips? Like I said, you touched about it, like joining, having you connect with other people, networking, get a mentor and all of that. Are there some tips that Christians would want to share with believers that they can use in navigating how to exit into another position wherever they find themselves? Over to you.
Thank you. That's a really brilliant question again from you. I think one of the things that we all need to know, and I think quite a number of people are doing this, but if you are feeling stagnant in a particular career, not just in a job, in a particular career, you're just uncomfortable and you've prayed, you've done all that, then you need to allow your heart to become open to say, what is that thing that I would love to do that I'm not doing yet? but I would love to do it, but it's completely removed from my radar right now. Then exiting from where you are is an act of faith, but of course you need to pray well. Secondly, is about saying, how do I learn more? There are so many options. Sometimes you can be somebody that has a career and you've been working for 15 years in a particular career, which you think, well, this is where it's supposed to be, but that's not it. Then you can actually take a leap of faith and say, Father, this love that I have of this particular area, I'm going to look for an internship in an organization where I can begin to groom and grow that particular new one. It is possible. It has happened to a lot of people who say, okay, I've been in the media world for a long time, but right now I want to shift from the media and I want to do something different. I want to be a finance person. I did start finance in school, but I didn't do anything in finance. But I think I need to go back there. But your experience is not reflecting anything in finance. Then you need to say, how do I go to an organization where they can take me on as an intern, not necessarily a fresh intern, fresh graduate intern, but an intern that is already experienced in another craft but wants to change careers. So if you do internship for like a year in a particular organization, any organization that is advertising for internship, it helps you to then gain the experience and the confidence that you require to be able to transit. So by the time you serve in those positions as an intern and brush up with your education, like I mentioned, and all that, it's easier for you to be able to get a job that is suited to that new area that you're diving into. But if you sit and just expect manna to drop, ain't gonna drop. You still have to learn. Everything about the Lord is about learning. And one of the things I keep saying to everyone, that once you stop learning and start thinking you know it all, that's the time you begin to be made redundant and irrelevant. So conscious learning and relearning, very critical. Trying to find out which organizations wants to do sponsorship, inductions, internships, and things like that. Trying to see whether there are short courses that you can do that helps to brush up the experience you need or that you've not had at all. And there's so many free short courses on the internet. How do you use your spare time to look at all of that and gain that confidence as you begin to do all of this together? It will then help you to have to blow completely open the horizon of the opportunities for growth that you need to have. I hope this helps.
Yes, it does. It does help. Trying to learn and find something that will make you know that this is time for you to move. And also, one of the things you said, which I think it really resonates a lot with quite a number of people that I've spoken with, is that you don't stay on one thing and say that is where I will continue to I will die on this job. Find other thing, be versatile. Don't just stick to one thing, you know. Try to learn some other crafts. I believe so much in the power of what God has placed in our hands as believers. So he is God that gives, he says he gives us these gifts to profit without. So he's giving us so much, and quite a number of us, we are just stuck by our 8 to 5 job and not thinking out of the box in terms of other things that God has placed in our hand. Well spoken, ma. I really appreciate that. On a final note, I know that there is a lot that behavior has to do with our motivation, our lack of enthusiasm, our career growth, and so many things. I know for HR they will say soft skills. So, what are those things that I just want you to help us wrap up with that, because it's very critical. Some people, they are Lord and Master in their home, but you cannot be Lord and Master everywhere. So, how do you put all those things together? Or some people, they are very reserved. They are not the social type of people, and then you are in an organization where every day is happy hour. I mean, how do you square all of that? Or you are the
Mm,
type that you are so outspoken, you are so loud, you know. Some people, they know Nigerians, we talk a lot, we shout, we do all those things. So how, and you are in a multicultural mix that you are trying to find, how do we what's the role of behavioral, change in an environment where it's a multicultural mix? Over to you,
okay.
ma. And
Thank
I
you.
think
That's a
wrap
really
up with that.
brilliant one. Especially when you brought in the Nigerian one. You're so right. I've been in East Africa for almost 20 years now, different countries. And the shock of a Nigerian that is assertive, I wouldn't say we are aggressive, that is assertive and confident, because we are confident people, coming into an environment where people don't want to say what they really feel and all of that
Mhm,
was a huge
mhm,
shock for me in the
mm,
initial. But
mm,
then you learn, you observe and you learn, how do you get through to these people without rubbing them off the wrong way while still being truthful to who you are?
mm,
Because no matter what, God created each person perfect with their personalities and all of that. So that means that you are not changing. You
mm,
are simply moderating according to what it is that you know will get people on board. So
mm,
that's one of the things. It's about being observant and watching and looking. One. The second one is, if I told you that I'm an introvert, you would not believe me, I'm sure. But one of the things that every test I've done in my life, so many, would always come back to say I'm an introvert. People will start to say, it's not possible. Tayo cannot be an introvert. I'm a complete introvert. I love my own company. I love to be alone. But whether you love to be alone or not, there are some critical roles you need to play
mm,
as a leader, even before being a leader, that you know you cannot be in that small shell that you have put yourself. You need to be out there. So you need to psych yourself. I psych myself. Say,
mm,
Tayo, in the next 1 week or so, you're going to be mixing with a lot of people doing a lot of things. So how do you prepare yourself for that? I was blessed because I did theater arts for my first degree. So
mm,
that started helping me to come out of my shell. But
mm,
not everybody will be as fortunate. So the key thing is to realize that yes, people will recognize that you're an introvert, but you
mm,
cannot stay there. Because like you said, you need to be seen.
mm,
You may be
mm,
brilliant in yourself and in all of that, but when you don't articulate that, not just in words, but also in action and how you stretch yourself to be able to adjust,
yeah.
it helps for
Mm,
you to be seen. So it's important that we do not say, uh, I'm an unchangeable person. You see, the only person that is constant is the
it's
Lord.
God.
The rest
Yes.
of us, God, we are work in progress in so many
Mm,
different ways. So you
mm,
must be open yourself to
yes.
say, I know this is uncomfortable for me. Many times I'm uncomfortable to being an introvert,
Mm,
but I recover. When I've finished all the extroverted work,
mm,
I take some time off. Like Jesus withdraw to go and
mm,
rest.
mhm,
I
mhm,
take some
mhm.
time off to recover on my own to
Yeah.
say, okay, I'm not going to leave my house for the next 2 days, 3 days. I just want to
Mm,
recover from all of that. So once you have that, it helps you a lot.
yeah.
Secondly, do not reduce yourself because of others. God created each of us unique.
Mm,
So don't say, okay, now you know you're in East Africa now, you cannot say your truth anymore. No. How do you moderate the truth? If I'm saying the truth, my truth to a Nigerian that understands the way we talk, I can be completely, But when you're with others who do not understand it like that and get afraid, they need
yeah.
to moderate and say, so how do I say this in a way that they would understand? And as
Mm,
you're saying it in the way that they would understand, you're also letting them know at the same time that I'm saying this because how do you want me to say it? Do you want me to say it as it is, or you want me to kind of, build
mm,
you into it? That's the first thing I
mm,
learned to say
mm,
that.
mm,
Then, as you say that, they get to know you. And the key thing that makes people a bit afraid that I've discovered also, especially for those who think you are outspoken, you are
yeah.
assertive, I would never use the word aggressive because I don't agree, is they don't know you enough. And so
Yes.
when you correct people sometimes, they think you're going to hold on to it and you have marked them. But when they see it's about correcting you for that time and then moving on and life continues, you are
Yeah.
building the trust. And people
Yeah.
then begin to say, oh, She corrected me, but it didn't change our relationship. It didn't affect the way we did this. It didn't do this. It's just correction. Then they begin to trust you. So even when you are not so guided in the way you're saying it, they know it is not intended to
mm,
pull them down. It is intended for them to grow and to learn, and they
mm,
now trust you more. So for me, for anyone who is shy, introverted, or not used to working in different diverse contexts that I have been working for a long time, key
mm,
thing is to understand your environment, understand the people, understand what is different about you, because we're all different, no matter who. How do
mm,
I get through to this person without them feeling uncomfortable and all of that? And of
mm.
course, there'll be time that you want to disrupt and make people uncomfortable. You shouldn't
Yes.
also be shy about that. But the key thing is really being that person that slows down and listen and learn. I think that
Mm,
helps me a lot in my career. Once I change jobs or things like that, the first 6 months to a year, I'm simply observing because they were doing well before you
mm,
came, or thought they were
mm.
doing well.
Yeah.
So if you are going to change what is not correct,
You need
first
to
see
know.
what is making this work or not work with
Yeah.
examples. So by the time you're now suggesting that you want to change some things, people will understand that you didn't just come in one day and say, "Oh, what you're doing is rubbish, get away." No,
Mm,
that
mm, mm,
maturity is so key in
mm,
everything that you're doing, especially on your journey to leadership or as a leader. It's about how were they doing it before that they were used to. Is it good? If it's not, because
mm,
they've been there forever, what do I need to do differently? So for me, for someone who is feeling that I'm not seen and all of that, believe me, God created you that way for a purpose. So do not worry.
mm,
But that doesn't
mm.
mean you stay in that corner. Try to sometimes get out of your comfort zone and be a
Mm.
little bit uncomfortable whilst you're doing it, but ask Him to guide you. He will, honestly. Even the words that you're supposed to use, He will give you those words as well. I
Yes,
hope it
yes.
helps.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you so much. I really like the way you summed it up, and in the summary in my head is saying that be true to yourself, but understand your environment. This is really thought provoking, and I really appreciate everything that you have said. For our viewers, I want you to know that God has you in mind. You have been raised to reign. God has a purpose for your life, for your career, for everything about you. And if you ever need any help, please reach out to us, and I will link you up with our speaker, our guest for today. And you can also uh, um, see or link up with her on LinkedIn, on IG, and on Facebook. You see the description is scrolling, and it will also be in the video description, so that if you have anything to ask or any question to ask, please feel free to reach out to us, because that is why we are here, and we know that God has a better plan for your life. Thank you so much, Ma. We are really grateful. We thank you for your time. And by the grace of God, God will continue to increase you in all wisdom and understanding in the name of Jesus. God will help
Amen.
you and help your ministry as well to grow and flourish in the
Amen.
name of Jesus. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Amen.
God bless
Amen.
you. And I
Amen.
hope
Thank you so
that,
much.
yes, I hope that we'll be able to. So now is just by us. You could see I'll cut out all of this part. We are going to wrap up this, and then I'll stop the recording, and then it will give us the outro, and then I'll come back to just say
Okay.
a word of thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.